Shalom, call halal Yahweh Shem Abishai by Hashem Rakak double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered, hopefully elect that are scattered among the heathen nations around the four corners of the earth, many being like the heathen nations, being like unto the speckled bird. To the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm coming at you with a quick history lesson. Actually, I recant that statement. This may end up being a couple parts, but being that today is actually Thankskilling, it's like I call it. This couldn't be a more fitting time to bring this history out, and I'm gonna start doing more historical lessons on this channel because I pretty much washed my hands of the Maccabean spirit. Like I said, that channel has a life of his own now. May it continue to edify, teach, break down the lies of E, and all the lies have been established. But I'm going to start the scripture with Jeremiah 50 and 33. And it reads, "Thus saith Yahweh of hosts," the armies, because Israel are the armies of the Lord. "The children of Israel," which is speaking about the northern kingdom, so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, all right, "and the children of Judah," the so-called Negroes, "were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." Steal the land, kill the people, it's Thanksgiving. Then you turn around and you sell the so-called Negro slaves, it's Black Friday. It's funny how those two things are married together, just like it is in scripture.
American schools generally teach a conventional story about the meeting of pilgrims and Indians that finished with an amazing dinner. The end. But there's more to the tale. This video will explain the events around the first Thanksgiving and how it's not the image ingrained in tradition. At the start of the 17th century, southern New England was home to a variety of busy communities within several confederations. These were the people of the first light, and they called their home the Dawnland. Political leaders were known as sachems and had been trading with Europeans for over 100 years before the Pilgrims. Relations soured only after deceitful Europeans kidnapped locals to sell as slaves. Permanent European settlement was impossible due to the already high population of native occupants. But in 1616, tradesmen introduced a disease to the Dawnland, whose inhabitants died in droves from a lack of immunity. In 3 years, up to 90% were wiped out in several confederations, including the Wampanoag. Their head sachem, Massasoit, was aware of how close they were to being subjugated by their unafflicted enemy, the Narragansett. He was...
Now, with that in mind, you have to understand that what E wanted was the land, and he declared war on these people. And he didn't come. They didn't come and say, "We're at war with you. We want this land." They came and they used deceit. All right, just like it says. And matter of fact, let me just get it. Apocrypha's behind me. Got a library of books right here behind me. And the spirit is taking this in a direction that I wasn't even intending. And we're gonna need this book, Indian Slave Trade. Let's grab this off the shelf. All right. But let's go to Sirach 10 and 8. And it reads, "Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another." See, wealth never goes away, it gets translated. And they translated the wealth and power of this land to themselves. All right, and what you have to understand is that the so-called Native Americans were taken into slavery. All right, and in some cases, they were even on the same ships with the so-called Negroes. All right. In this book, The Indian Slave Trade by Alan Gallay, all right? The Indian Slave Trade by Alan Gallay. On page 302, All right. I'll read it through the lens of the camera. All right. You see the scriptures that I wrote next to it. It says, it is impossible to determine how many Indians were shipped northward. New York and Pennsylvania's extant shipping returns do not begin until 1713. So that's when they start recording it. So that means they've been doing it for hundreds of years already. And Maryland did not include imports. We also run into the same problem of custom agents not reporting accurately the import of Indians. For instance, in 1715, the Royal Anne arrived in New York with a shipment of Indians and blacks. The number of blacks was recorded, but not the number of Indians. Why? Because E was creating that separation. All right, trying to keep them. He tried to bury the history of the so-called Native and Latino slave trade. Remember when Columbus came, all right? Because there's a video of this guy here. This is a Uncivil History, his channel, okay? And he has good information, and some of his information is on point. But the connection between the so-called Latinos and natives and the Negroes is that part they leave out, because he is just a liar and they don't want to admit that truth of that history. That's why I'm giving it to you. All right, but the slave trade that started soon is Cristobal Colon, aka Christopher Columbus, set foot down. They started carting the Northern Kingdom back to Seville, Spain. Seville, Spain became the reverse slave capital of the world. As a matter of fact, that information is in let's see, bear with me for a second. This was done through the spirit, kind of here we go. I believe that's in this book, if I'm not mistaken, Black Indians by Lorenz Cat. Alright. Look like Danny Glover and Pharrell right there. But Black Indians by Lorenz Cat. Alright. Because there is a such thing. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what they were. But if I'm not mistaken, it's in this book where it mentions how Seville, Spain became the reverse slave capital of the earth. This is also showing you too how Judah and Reuben mix, and that's where you get your Black Seminole Indians. All right, which actually defeated Jackson's armies to the point to where Jackson went to make treaties with them because he kept sending E down there, and we kept smashing on them and eliminating them. I'm trying to find if that's in this book or actually it may not be in this one. I'm looking. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe it is. Hold on. It is. I was on point. This is right. This is on page 26. We'll read it through the lens again. Page 26 of the Black Indians. It said it began with Columbus, just like it says there, right? Let's go to what I've underlined. Wait for it to focus. There we go. It says, Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship courage had opened up the Americas to European penetration, also began the transatlantic slave trade. See Jeremiah 50 and 33. All right. He started by shipping 10 Arawak men and women to Seville, Spain. He wrote enthusiastically to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella about the business possibilities from here. In the name of the blessed Trinity, which is not biblical, it's a lie, we can send all the slaves that can be sold when he loaded 1,100 Taino men, women aboard 4 Spanish ships, crowding, and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll. Only 300 survived, but Columbus and Spain had decided to continue the profitable slave trade from the Americas. Seville, Spain became the slave capital of Spain. See? All right. So that was a reverse slave trade going on. All right. That's just fact, man. You can't get around that. All right. And so when it tells you in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, it didn't say just Judah, like some of these people like to try to make that this a black thing. No, it isn't. This is an Israelite thing. And we all were dark brown people once upon a time, different shades of brown. All right? Through mixing and being scattered, we all are different now. This is in different captivities. Judah being captive by those Hamite nations for the most part, and those dark Arab nations, and then the Northern Kingdom, we being captive by the Spaniards, the French, and all those other people. And also in the Holy Land, we live right next to Ammon and Moab. Hence the reason why so many Northern Kingdom have those eyes that almost look like so-called Asians. We were mixing and mingling with Ammon and Moab in the ancient world. All right? This is Deuteronomy 28:68. It says, Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again, slavery again, bondage again, with ships by the way wherefore I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. All right? Meaning no man shall redeem you. That's what the word buy there means. Not physically, not buy you is purchase you. No man shall redeem you. You got to look up the meaning of words, man. So we weren't redeemed out of this, and we're still not. Let's let a little bit more play.
He was determined to save his people from such a fate. This was the political world the Pilgrims were about to enter. The Pilgrims were not called Pilgrims by their contemporaries. They were known as Separatists, a branch of the English Puritans. King James hated Puritans and began persecuting them in 1604.
Now let's stop right there. Stop right there. This is a book called The Negro Question. All right? You can almost see the likeness of that image to the actual image of King James, minus the darkest tones of flesh, and his son to the left, King Charles, who was also known as Black Boy. All right? That's King Charles the First, who was known as Black Boy. He was actually beheaded, right? King of the Scots. So it's a lot of history that E don't tell you or that he lies about. All right? Let's talk about something that happened to Charles, and then we'll go deeper into this history a little later. But it says, matter of fact, I'm going to read it through the camera, right out the book. All right? These are images of Charles. I actually have pictures of him, sculptures of him in my phone, where you can see the thickness of his lips and nose, and how you can still see the features on him and how they tried to chip them away. Everything is in place except his nose and lips. All right. It says, Charles the First of the Scots and England. All right. Image location, book Leviathan, author Thomas Hobbes, 1651. So there, straight out the book from 1651. King Charles I had an unlucky distinction of having his head cut off by the English Edomites, the whites, subject in his realm. King Charles I wasn't the only one to suffer this indignation. When the English overran the country and hung and decapitated the men, raped the women, burned the citizens at stakes, dashed children against stones, this is a bit of history that is not taught nor reported in the annals of world history. And that is so true, because this is when Cromwell began to take over, and E began to take over Europe, Scotland, Ireland, and that's why they are in those places today, referring to themselves as such. All right. Here's King Charles II he was the one referred to as Black Boy Salakia. Said King Charles II, king of the Scots. All right. Location, image, rosterliveware.com. The son of King Charles I, whose nickname was Black Boy, the King of England, Wales, France, Scotland, Hibernia, Spain, and Ireland. All right. He united those kingdoms. That's what the real UK was united by so-called Negroes, man. All right. Here's a book that I want to get my hands on. It says, I suggest that you read one of these books to get a better feel of what happened to the Irish and Scots and Brits during the terror of Oliver Cromwell. This is when they were getting rid of the Jake and putting all the Edomites in a position of power. Okay. It says the image is an actual eyewitness to the account of the Black Charles I, the first king of Scotland, who was being prepared to be beheaded by the English. I did everything in my power to try and pull this image off the canvas to show you the king's face, but I couldn't. This is all I could get. And there it is, man. You can see the canvas, the images. He took the pictures of the actual history. The beheading of Charles I from Solemn League, image of Scottish King Charles from the Patrick Little Oliver's Cromwell's in perspective. So Cromwell, basically this began the whitewashing of history. All right, because they had to make themselves the Anglo-Saxons and the Jews and that whole sort of thing, and that's where all those lies came from. Okay, here's some more proof that I read from this particular book, Professor Boyd Dawkins. I'll just read this one thing. Matter of fact, I'll just read some of the images off this page, these pages. This is pages 3 and 4 in the book, and I'll read them through the lens of the camera. All right. It says, Professor, these are hold on, let me just read the other part first. It said the Negro question part 4, the missing link, has the answer to make both sciences come together in a perfect harmonious marriage. Neither of the two sciences possesses the link to bring cohesiveness to their respective fields. The secret lies in the past, in the writings of Professor Boyd Dawkins, in the Edict of Oliver Cromwell, in Ancient Artifacts, and in the essay of Benjamin Franklin. So like I always read Psalms 85 and 11 about how the earth brought spring forth truth, man. And the relics that I've shown you are proving what I'm saying is true. They just didn't present these things. But here you go. These are some of the writings from those books, from that information. It says, Professor Winchell Alexander, Our Remote Ancestry, 1815 to 1900, a collective journals. And this is what he wrote. These short men came from Atlantis, northern Africa, and they overran Europe, and they were known as Britons. All right, he's off with the whole Atlantean thing, but they did. Rome fell, and Jake, the southern kingdom, Israelites, so-called black people, took over. Roman historian Tacitus, the origin of black Britons. The Iberians are black people with curly hair, and then it gives you the information. Anthropological Review, Society, London, Volume 8. So that's there. All you have to do is get this Anthropological Review, Society of London, Volume 8. Joseph Riston, Annals of Cauldron, Picts, and Scots, Volume 2, pages 7 and 27. The Picts, Brits are brown complexion with curly hair. Ivan Sertima's Africa Presence in Early Europe. I actually have that book. Page 225. The Britons look like Ethiopians. Yes, they did. Like the scripture says. There's no difference. Matter of fact, let's get that. I got Amos 9 and 7 written there. And we'll finish there for today. Because there may have to be a part 2 to this. Because I'm hot now. This is Amos. Let's go to the book of Amos real quick. 9 and 7, and it says, "Are ye not as the children of Are you not as the children of Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Saith Yahweh, have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and Philistines and Captor and Syrians and Ker," making a comparison. All right, because we were brown in complexion, we were like unto them, but different, a lot more attractive, quite frankly. All right. but similar in appearance as far as the dark chocolate brown of members of our families. All right, different shades of brown, from a dark brown to a light brown, man. All right, to a tan, almost a tan color, what people refer to as yellow or red bone. All right. So with that, I hope this was edifying. Call Halal Yahweh Shem Abishai, by Hashem Rakak Wadash, Wa Abba Babal.